Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Qdabra's last webinar of 2019. I'm so happy you all could make it. Thank you for being here. I am very happy today to present a new topic, something that we've been thinking about for just 3 weeks. We came up with a new design pattern after talking with a couple customers, actually, and today we're going to present this solution to you. It's one of those solutions that you can just take as is, deploy it to your site. Its goodness out of the box. Today's webinar, we're going to talk about how to share documents with external users, whether they're on their mobile phone or simply not part of your login for SharePoint. You can specify read-write permissions. We'll show you how to do that. We'll also, there's logging activity. So there's several different ways you can log activity for auditing purposes. And most of all, it's a secure mechanism for accessing documents, and the documents are stored on your SharePoint site, and they don't need to have a login. So isn't that cool? I hope you're all very excited. I've got a couple polls I want to share with you quickly before we get going. Kirby, can you hear me okay? Is the audio coming in okay? We are recording?
Yep.
Great.
We can hear you okay.
Thank you, Kirby. I've got this. I'm just doing a little bit of the introduction to this webinar, and the real people who deserve all the credit today are Don and Kirby, who you'll hear from shortly. I'm going to launch this quick poll for you. We're just going to ask a few questions up front to get us in the perspective of the webinar. First question: do you need to share documents with external people? Everyone's saying yes. That's good news. We'll close that one, and we'll go to the next question then, and that is, do you have users who need mobile access to those documents? And I'm waiting. Maybe. We've got a maybe. We've got 2 yeses. We've got a no. Okay, I'll take that. And then the last question here is do you want more control of your documents, of what users can see? So this is very, I think, very germane to a lot of people with SharePoint today. I mean, you can set permissions in SharePoint manually. So this is going to show a way to kind of give people access. Thanks for those quick polls. And I think we are out of the polls, so that kind of sets our reference in terms of our perspective for the webinar. We're going to, well, obviously, why do you want to do this? We want to build solutions that are not limited to SharePoint in terms of the licenses and logins, also provide better security. When you're accessing documents from your phone, you have to use either an SMS text message that is time sensitive, or you're using one of these apps. We're going to show Authy app today, which is a very popular authentication app, and that means that the user who's accessing the documents has to authenticate themselves via a smartphone device that they have. So it's much more secure than passwords and logins. So let's just switch to the demo, Kirby. Let's just go to the demo. And I'm going to actually introduce Don Frack, who's been with us now for 8-9 years. And Don gets all the credit for putting this demo together today. Don, you have the floor.
Okay, so hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. So I'll be demoing the user dashboard. Okay, so this form is used for adding users to the permissions list. So for today I'll be the admin, and Kirby will be the user. So to add a user, I'll click on this button over here and just simply type in Kirby's name and her title, email, and choose a couple of folders for her to access. So for these two, I'll put on read, and for the last one, I'll click on write. Now, if there's one item here missing, then there's going to be a prompt here which will let you know that you have to complete all the data. So for this one, I'll put in write and click the submit button. Now what this form does is it submits the user who failed to submit. Let's see what happened here. Okay, so that's the first bug. I'm not sure why that happened, But we have a debug section, so looks like it did not submit to the users list. So let's just check that quickly, and it didn't. So let me just refresh this and just re-add Kirby as a user. Kirby board. Okay, should be capital. And re-add these 3 items. Read, and write. Okay, and click submit. Hopefully there's no more error. Okay, there we go. So the system says we have successfully submitted new users. And if we go check on this one and refresh the list, we should now have Kirby here added, and the status should be pending, as what you can see from this dashboard. Now, if we click on this one, this should show the list of folders we has access to, and this is what we have submitted here. Folder 2017, 18, 19, and the permissions, which was submitted to this list. If we refresh this one, so let's go back and check her ID number. That's 45, and we should have 3 new items for ID 45. Okay. Now, Kirby should have received an email.
I'm going to switch to Kirby. Kirby, you're on.
Yep. So, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yep, Kirby.
Okay, so I'm going to try to open this user activation form.
Did you get an email?
Well,
it takes about 5 minutes for Flow to send the email,
I see you're
but
using
you can
Flow.
manually.
Got it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to manually enter my ID here in the URL. So it's 45.
Don, while Kirby's doing this, I know you can probably add some of the people who are on a call, the attendees of the webinar. If you want to add their emails in and set them up the same way you did Kirby, that would be kind of cool.
Okay, sure.
Kirby?
Yep, my app mirroring app is a bit slow right now.
We can see you're on your cell phone. Don't forget to capitalize your last name. If that's important. I don't know if it is important or not, but sometimes it can be.
And then I'm going to click confirm. And then it's going to ask me to select the country code and my phone number. Then click confirm again. And in a few seconds, there we go. I received an SMS that says my verification code is 2499. Okay, so at this point, I should be receiving another email that's saying that my access is now activated. And then for the next form, I'm gonna open this user folder access form, right, Don?
Yep. This should be in anonymous mode. And it's going to let you verify your identity via authing.
And if I click login, it will require me to sign up because I don't have the Authy ID yet. So I'm not sure if you're able to see my
Yep.
Authy app here.
Yep, you can see it.
Oh, okay.
Great. Thanks for. I'm glad that we can.
5250760. Oops. All right. So here's the folders that I have access to, and then all of the files inside the folders. Oh, there we go. I received the email now. And then if I click one of the files here, let's say this one, the gas detection.
That should be in read-only mode, so there should not be a submit button because it shouldn't allow you to change or update the file there. You can download it, just double-click it to open the file.
And then there we go.
There's obviously a few quirks with this webinar demo today. This is our first attempt, and that's great. Kirby, you can see the document. So, I mean, obviously, it'd be nice if it would just open right in the browser as opposed to having to require you to go there to open it. But so there's a few things that we need to fine tune in terms of the solution. But this looks really good, Kirby. Do you want to show the ones where you can write as well?
Okay. So let's go back here in the list of files and going to the 2019 folder. I'm going to click the webinar pick image here. Yes, we can remove that, right?
Yep.
Then click submit.
You can upload. You should be uploading the file because you're going to overwrite on the file.
Let's try to take a screenshot. Click OK and click submit.
We should have added the image scaling.
Yeah.
It's probably like a 10 megabyte image, Kirby.
And it's taking a while to load. Yeah.
Looks like it worked.
And yeah, so
Go back to the folder access from your desktop and show what it looks like there.
it's asking me again for the code, and if I open this 2019 and go to the webinar pick image should now see that it has been replaced
with the high-res picture of your desktop.
Let's see if we can. All right, there we go.
Yay. So one thing that's kind of interesting about this demo is the notion of documents. In order to share documents externally, it's important that the documents exist in a way that we can serve them up, because of course SharePoint really wants to charge licenses for everyone who's accessing. In fact, Microsoft just announced external licensing in October that we are somehow working around here using the Forms Here app. So the benefit, I mean, I'll go back to my slides in a second, but the key thing here is that we can't just point to a folder with the document. We have to actually load the document into a form and make it available that way, which makes it a little bit of a, there's a two-step process there of clicking on it to download it. So we want to try to maybe make that a little bit better in the future, but right now that's what we have. And I think it's fine because we are getting this huge benefit of allowing these external users to access without a license. So Don, were you able to actually ask other people? Let's switch back to your screen and see if anybody else was able to go along with the demo. Were you able to add people?
Yeah, I did. Let me share out my screen first. So
Okay.
can you see my screen?
Yeah, it looks like you added 5 people or 4 people.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 people. So let's just do a refresh, and nobody has activated it. Okay, so moving on, we have other forms to demo. So for this one, we have the admin folder control. So this form, because what we're doing here is we're submitting an XML to the shared folder, which I'll be showing here. So this is the folders that we have inside the documents folder, and in here, instead of seeing the files that we have submitted earlier, we are submitting XMLs, and these XMLs contain the attachment files. So that's what you have here, and this form here is what we use in order to submit a form or a file to that library as an XML file. So here you can add a file by simply clicking on the attachment control and select the file here. Let's say this PSD file for Photoshop, and click on the upload button. So it's going to send that to the 2017 folder. So let's go back to that, and we should have a new one here, which is this one, the help button. And this one is, so this form is the one controlling the files. And if we go back to the user dashboard and look into this one, so here we have this button here, which shows how many files or folders you have access to, and we can edit this here by clicking this link, which opens up the user info form in admin mode. And if you are an admin, it's going to display these items. So here you can remove access for a user and or add access. So if we add this one, so it should change for me if I click on submit. So we should now have access to the new folder over there. And let's see. Okay, so if we refresh this one, so there you can see it has been updated. And yeah, that's it. That's
So,
the demo.
so Don, you didn't encrypt the phone numbers in this demo today. Is that because we're using Authy?
Um, and actually no. Uh, you asked me at one point to not to encrypt the numbers because we were using the last 4 digits.
Oh, right.
But
Right.
I removed it.
Okay. Yeah, because we're using auth, you don't need the last 4 digits. Yeah, I asked you to simplify it so they don't have to type in their email. They just type in their last name and the last four. But since we're using auth, that's not necessary. Great. Yeah, so just for everyone's benefit out there, we can definitely encrypt those phone numbers so that they don't show up. And I know that there's a lot of kind of limitations around the number of folders and whatnot. For a truly scalable solution, we want to make like repeating control with paging, and that's easy to add to this. This is really our first cut at creating this demo. I'm going to quickly switch back to my screen and share out my my slides here and just go through this again. So just to refresh, we are using lists and phones to control access, and that requires text messaging via Twilio. So you have to have a Twilio account, and then Authy uses that account as well. You have these administration forms that allow you to grant access, and so it's a little bit different. It's not using the SharePoint permissions. It's because obviously SharePoint permissions require SharePoint logins. So we have to create this extra list for the permissions for the solution for external users. The requirements are that you have these two admin forms to add users and to control the basically the folder access, but also to add documents to the folder. The user activates, they get access to the folder, and they're able to then download the attachment form to see the document. Then the underlying technology, once again, Twilio and Authy for the authentication. We're using FormSIR. We have to have FormSIR for this, which is just showing the form, and then some lists in SharePoint. So to deploy this, you just deploy those lists and those forms. There's a bunch of forms you have to deploy to FormSIR. And then you just go into the admin form, invite your users, and you can monitor their access. Now, there's a couple of different ways to monitor the access. One is via Twilio. Twilio has logs on whenever somebody accesses the site. So that's actually, it's like a ledger of all the accesses, which is great. And then there's also the ability to log the data in SharePoint. And we could actually create a list and log the data, and then you could use Power BI on top of that. So there's a couple different ways to monitor access to the form. We did the demo. I think we have one question here from Shane. Shane, thanks for asking this question. And so you've got, let me just make sure I get this correctly here. If I don't need mobile access, everything will be on the PC. Do I need to use Authy and Twilio? So right now the solution's set up to use Authy and Twilio, even if you have a desktop, but you could remove that. I'm not sure if there would be a benefit, because if people have access to the SharePoint site, I mean, obviously, if they don't have access and they're using their desktop, then you need to authenticate them somehow. So you need Twilio and Authy to do that. If they do have a login on SharePoint, then this solution wouldn't make a lot of sense, because you could just set up the permissions in SharePoint for them. It's kind of a nice solution anyway for those people, because you can kind of control permissioning, but you still need to identify who they are when they log in. And this solution uses the separate authentication scheme for that. So I guess the answer is you still need those two things. Thanks for the question, though. So I just want to quickly do a shout out here for our FormSIR app. We have the replacement for InfoPath. It's the lowest cost out there because it doesn't require a change to your forms. If you've got 5 or 10 or more forms and you don't want to spend $3,000 to $5,000 to convert them to Power Apps, you can just move them to FormSIR. It's very simple to do. We add new features to FormSIR, like what you saw today with the Twilio SMS text integration, the ability to show the forms in high resolution on mobile devices. And there's a few tweaks that we need to make the forms look good on mobile, but it's easy to do. And you can add a CSS, a style sheet that actually makes it expand to fit the whole screen, so you don't have a bunch of white space. You get our support, and we're very responsive. And of course, FormSIR can be just downloaded in the SharePoint App Store. So we try to keep these webinars short and and sweet. So thank you all for joining today. If there's any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And I also want to thank Kirby and Don for this excellent new demo. We'll probably do this one again next year sometime. We'll probably revise it to make the solution a little more less quirky, to allow for more scalable content and fix a few of the display issues that you saw there in the bugs. But yeah, we're going to make this package available in our web store for free download. We'll also send it to you if you fill out the survey. It's a quick 5-question survey. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. I want to also thank Kirby. This is her last day before her maternity leave. So Kirby, way to go. This is a great way to go on vacation. I guess it's not going to be vacation. It's going to be labor,
Yes.
right? It's going to be baby. But we
Thank you,
really look
Patrick.
forward to having you come back in the end of February, and I hope you have a wonderful maternity leave. And Dawn, thanks again for this sweet demo. Lots of cool stuff here, and thank you all for being here. Hope you have a great day. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll talk to you in 2020. Take care.